Hey everyone, Mrs. Rogstad here. This is video 8-1 and it's about the history of measurement. So we are now embarking on this journey of taking measurements, doing unit conversions, and eventually doing physics with math involved in it. So the objectives for this lesson are to explain 3 ways that measurements have been determined throughout history, and then also explain how the metric system originated. Most of the second objective you're going to get from a TED Ed video that I will post alongside of this one in the same assignment. So you need to write notes for both my video and the TED Ed video, and please label this as video 8-1 notes in your notebook. So let's talk about a little bit of history. So in the ancient past, as I'm sure you guys are well aware, having been in Bible class for a lot of your life, there were different units of measurement. So when you go look in the Bible, you don't see God telling Noah to build an ark that is however many meters long. You see God telling Noah to build an ark of so many cubits. And you see the unit of the cubit a lot in the Bible. And it is the measurement of the distance from a person's elbow to their longest finger. Okay, so if you have this distance, I want you to think for a second if there's anything problematic that you can think about that. And what I would say is that every person has a different distance from their elbow to the tip of their finger. Now, they might not be super far off. I mean, this distance, is certainly not anywhere close to a mile, right? It might be like 1.5 feet-ish. But if we want to be really accurate with our measurements, taking any measurement that's based on a person's body type is not really a good way to measure something. However, in ancient times, that is what they did. So I have a picture over here of ancient Egypt showing a cubit from the elbow to the tip of the finger. But that will be different for different people. Okay, also in ancient Greece, the original foot, now this is not the foot that I'm talking about today for a ruler, but this is many, many, many years ago. A foot was actually measured by the length of a person's foot. Okay, and again, that's not accurate. So I have the unfortunate burden in my life to wear a woman's size 11 shoe. And maybe you ladies can tell me if that's a normal size or not, but sometimes I have a hard time finding shoes because that is on the larger end of women's shoe sizes, which is annoying. So people's feet are different lengths, and this is how the foot originated. Also, we have the statute mile, which is ancient Roman or Greek soldiers. I don't remember. I want to say Greek. These are Roman soldiers. At any rate, this was based on a number of footsteps that these soldiers would take. I want to say it was 5,000 footsteps as they were marching. So as every person's stride is not different depending on how tall you are, it's not the best way. So these ancient methods of defining units were used for quite a long time. Okay, so I'm going to call these also the ancient methods, ancient measurements. They're not the most accurate, but in the ancient world, that's really all that they had. So then there was another way, and these are called artifact prototypes. And this persisted. Actually, the last of these was done away with in 2018. So this was more popular like in the 1900s to 2018, which was not that long ago. That was like 5 years ago. Anyway, this is a meter, and so what they would do is have one piece of metal that was the standard by which all other meters would be measured. Now, the meter standard was done away with, I want to say, in the 1960s, but this is the kilogram prototype, otherwise known as Le Grand K, because it was kept in France in a vault and in this building. And there's an interesting story behind that. In World War II, there was a lot of fighting going on in France, but the Nazis wouldn't even bomb this building because this kilogram prototype was housed there. And that would be devastating to the entire world for both sides of the war, because if they lost that standard for what the kilogram measured, then the world loses the definition of the kilogram. And this was the most accurate that they had at the time. Also, people from 3 different countries had keys in order to get into this vault to measure this kilogram standard. So every other kilogram in the world was based on this 1 kilogram standard. Now, in 2018, this definition, Legrand-K, was done away with as the basis for the measurement of the kilogram. That doesn't mean that the kilogram actually changed a whole lot in what its weight is or was. It's just that this Legrand-K, it was deteriorating over time, as matter does. It wears out. Your shoes wear out after however many months. Any piece of matter is going to lose a few atoms or a few milligrams of material over time, because it's just made of stuff, and stuff decays, and that's how it works in the world. And so in order to preserve our measurements and make them very accurate, this measurement was done away with. So these artifact prototypes are the second way that people have defined measurements over time. And these artifact prototypes are 1 standard piece of metal that is the definition of the kilogram or the meter or whatever unit for the entire world. There would be copies of that made, but there was only 1 that was the standard. And the disadvantages of that are that it could deteriorate a small bit over time, and also that it was only available to a few people, and that you needed, representatives from multiple countries in order to open up the vault to even see it. So it was a good thing that these were redefined as of 2018. So now units are defined as their basis by constants of nature. And there are different constants of nature. We talked about this when we learned about how there's order and design in nature, and there are certain numbers that are embedded in the fabric of the universe. And so one of these is the speed of light, because the speed of light is constant anywhere in the universe. And we represent this by c, lowercase c. It happens to be 3.00 times 10 to the 8th meters per second. You don't have to memorize this just yet anyway. But what I'm saying is that this is a number that doesn't change, and it's embedded in the fabric of the universe. And so anybody can measure it, if you're a scientist and you have the equipment. It doesn't change. And as of 2018, all units are based on this kind of constant of nature. There are other constants of nature. There's one called Planck's constant. It's sort of related to the speed of light. You don't need to worry too much about this, but there are a handful of constants of nature, and we base our units on these constants. So that's all I have for this video. Please watch the other TED Ed video that I've attached, and that is on the history of the metric system, and I'll give you a sneak spoiler alert. The metric system originated during the French Revolution in the 1700s, and see that video for more details.